Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Mayor.
Welcome to our last full council meeting of the year.
Hey!
No.
We still have business to conduct. Thank you. Do we have any apologies for absence? We have apologies from Councillor Almond. Do we accept that? Yeah. We have one person speaking in public session. I do expect to for the rest, but they've not arrived. So Councillor Lumunga, who is a Buckingham councillor and is the chair of the Tar Authority, is here to speak to us about one of the items which is on the agenda. So Luke, can I ask you if you want to speak?
What now?
Yeah. The other gentleman we were expecting hasn't actually got here. So
Can I come up there?
yeah.
I think I know about half the people here, so nice to see those I don't know.
See you nice.
That's it, right. So, lovely to be here. I think it's a lovely room this, and I have actually been here before. I'm not going to labour this at all. There is a consultation which is on your agenda, and I'll stay because I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. All I wanted to really say to you was to sort of drill down to the essential elements of this. The consultation is running over a 10-week period, and it's about some changes that Chief Fire Officer and her team would like to make in the structure of the fire service to improve efficiencies and get the best value out of the equipment and staff that we have. It's a statutory process, so it's a public consultation, and you'll find that online the consultation document and a 50-page evidence pack, which actually is surprisingly interesting. Lots of illustrative graphs which help to take you through it. There are three essential issues in the consultation. One is the closure of 2 fire stations. The other is the disposal of some unused fire engines, pumps as the fire brigade like to call them, and some changes to the operational independence of the Chief Fire Officer. So just briefly on those 3 elements. We're proposing the closure of fire stations at Great Missenden and Stokenchurch. The reason for that is they haven't been used for more than 5 years. Neither of them have sent out a fire engine in the last 5 years, but we have to maintain a fire engine there, which goes nowhere. The reason they don't go out, and why some of our other engines don't go out, is that part of what is known as the on-call side of the fire service. Lots of areas who call them retained fire officers. So the people who generally have other jobs, but get a retainer for being retained or on call, and they go out on demand. The availability of them has declined dramatically over the last 10 years. People generally don't want to be working that way. Changes in work-life balance and in employers' attitudes to employees being able to get away just like that as soon as the buzzer goes mean that it's impossible to, well, it's not impossible, it's very difficult to recruit. And also recruitment we tend to find that it's difficult to get the quality. It's a very, very demanding job, both technically and physically. We've just completed a round of recruitment where we had 43 applications. Half of the applicants couldn't pass the fitness test, so that's just walking up a treadmill on an incline. Out of 43 applicants, we have 6 that have actually got through to the DBS stage. That might illustrate just how difficult it is to recruit. You can't send a fire engine out with less than 4 people on it. They're equipped for 5, and the FBU, the Fire Brigades Union, will allow engines to go out with 5. So it's a big problem. It's a problem nationally, and we're not immune from And that was the reason why these on-call engines simply don't get used. We have a number that have had in the last year 0 availability through the year, and that actually includes obviously Great Missenden, excuse me, and Stokenshire, both of which are more than adequately covered from elsewhere. Because we have 12 whole-time crewed fire engines. So the whole-time crewed fire engines are, as the name implies, 24/7 cover, and they deal with 99.7% of every incident that the fire service has to respond to. And that's across the whole of Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes, because the fire authority covers both local authority areas. So 12 engines deliver 99.7% of our requirement, and then we have another 18 fire engines that have varying degrees of use, many of which are certainly not needed at all. On them, I'll just read 2 things. I don't need any notes for this. I've talked about it enough. But I'll read these 2 statements. About every 3 years, we get an inspection from His Majesty's now, Fire and Rescue Service. It's actually the Inspector of Constabularies, Fire and Rescue Services. And in the 2019 inspection, it was stated its 18 on-call fire engines were only available 13.6% of the time. This reflects the difficulty the service has in recruiting on-call firefighters. This is experienced nationally. And then in October 23, the next cycle, it is unclear why the service needs so many additional fire engines when its daily demand pattern is consistently met with 12 available fire engines. And reference in that report was also made to the on-call units being a ghost fleet. So it makes sense to remove them. It's not about cost. We can afford it, but we equally shouldn't be spending £40,000 a year on something we don't actually need. We can do better things with that. In some cases, they're going to be replaced by modern, lighter, faster equipment to already arrived. Don't look terribly exciting, I must say. They're just like a big red van, but they're all-wheel drive. They have a jacked-up wheelbase so they can go over rough country, and that's what they're for. They're rural firefighting vehicles that can get anywhere quickly, and that's a change that we're seeing again nationally. People are moving to more modern ways of tackling fire, have a particular kind of way of putting fires out, which involves like foam rather than just water. So that's the background for the removal of 7 of the 18 fire engines. We're keeping all the others, and 2 of those that are being removed are going to be retained for training purposes anyway. So in the event of an absolute emergency, they're available to use, provided, of course, we can have the staff. So, I am taking notes of anybody who would like to apply. A fire engine driver. So I've explained that under the two closures. And the third area is we're proposing some changes to the operational independence of the Chief Fire Officer. Since I came into this role in May, June of this year, I have to say I'm staggered to find that we have an absolutely exceptional leadership team in the fire service, and the Chief Fire Officer is nationally recognised. In fact, she's just been seconded to go on a course organised by the Cabinet Office that will only have 20 of the top local authority leaders, chief constables in the country going on. So we have an exceptional team there, but for reasons of the way the system works, it takes 17 councillors who know nothing about the fire service to keep an eye on them. So
thank you, Lou.
There we are. So that's there's no more from me to say.
The other gentleman we were expecting has arrived now. So we're in public session at the moment.
Yeah, sorry.
So I know you've just run through the door as I believe is your word.
If I run the other way, it's not because of anybody here.
Would you like to address the council?
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Like to tell us?
My name is Kieran Thomas. I'm a regional representative from Parkgate Union, but I've had the privilege of working in Buckinghamshire Fire Rescue Service for 23 years, which is a large chunk of my 28-year career in the fire service. Fire service to me has been an amazing career, an amazing job, but unfortunately the modern day way of working is attacking a really essential service nationally, not just in Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire, going through it. Kent, Essex, we're lucky enough we haven't got any reform councils, but they seem to be destroying everything as well, apart from humanity. What I need to say to you today is in 1973, Buckingham Fire Station was converted to a whole-time fire station with 2 fire engines, 2 proper fire engines, and that's been the case for 50 years until today. When I first started at Buckingham Fire Station in 2003, we're having 250 calls a year. Buckingham Fire Station gets between 400 and 500 calls a year. For a number of reasons. Winslow doesn't crew, or very rarely crews, because Buckingham goes to Winslow most of the time. We support our colleagues in Bicester, and Bicester, obviously this year, we saw the loss of 2 firefighters' lives. The response to that fire in whole was a part-time retained response. And I know that because I've been investigating the death of the 2 firefighters on behalf of the Fire Brigade Union. If we lose the ability to respond in proper fire engines for our community, like we've got there, and strengthen what we've got. I've got 14 firefighters, part-time, which I run here in Buckingham. We get a couple more, we can have the fire engine available along. A rural firefighting unit will only be used when there's wildfires, and it will only be used when there's a little bit of flooding. It cannot be used any other time. And as a union, you won't allow it. We won't allow it to turn up at 5 to 3 or 2, and you don't want that as a local council and local people for Buckingham. So I urge you today, as a member of Fire Brigade Union, someone who's campaigning strongly for the proper and true response that we should have as residents of Buckingham and Buckinghamshire, is to keep the 2 fire engines up there, invest in our fire station, and make sure it stays as it is, what you deserve. And thank you. Quick 2 minutes. To rush from parking, so apologies.
Okay, so we have some questions either to Kieran or to Lou. Lucy.
To either really, I'm sorry because I also came in late. So I missed the first 5 minutes of what Lou was saying. But looking at the map that's on the consultation document, so is the proposal to get rid of the 2, I'm saying proper fire engines at Buckingham, and replace them with these rural?
No. The one of the full fire engines will stay here, and the other will be replaced with a rural firefighting unit. I'm not going to get into a row with Kieran, but
all we want is facts tonight.
Well, I can give you the facts as a 28-year firefighter, not someone that's a politician. I've been to houses, I've been to people's houses, I've called people out and seen people dead.
yes,
If you don't get the response that you deserve, and what will end up here is you'll end up with 1 fire engine for 25 minutes on home, you won't take lives.
let me just clarify a couple of points then. All of the analysis and a huge amount has been done, and I said there's a 50-page evidence document online suggests there'll be no reduction in response times. Secondly, you mentioned Windsor, I have to live on this, so the availability Windsor is 18.7%. It's actually one of our better stations, and it kind of illustrates the point that on-call is a real problem for us. If 18.2% availability is one of your best ones, It's a problem.
But Buckingham's 35%, so
Right. No change in firefighting.
Sorry, can we please stick to answering the question?
Yeah.
No, the reason behind my query was obviously Buckingham is kind of on the edge of the county, but looking at the map that we have here, it is the only day crude pump station in quite a big area. My concern is that if we lose any kind of functionality there, that's going to have an enormous impact on the surrounding area, because the other stations, you've got Winslow, which isn't on call, Waterston's on call, Mill's on call, Hammond's on call. So it just seems concerning to lose any kind of functionality when there's not a lot else in the area.
Okay, so this is on the agenda to actually discuss. So I'd rather not have the discussion now in the private session, in the public session. If we can ask the people who've come here specifically to give us information, questions now, then that'd be great. I've got Roger next. Thank you.
Is Buckingham fully on call, or is it without full-time firefighters there?
So what you have in Buckingham is you've got a unique system, which is a whole-time fire engine, which is in the daytime. So from 9 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening, we're on station, so we do our core functions and we're on an instant response. In the evening, we're on a pager, so we're on a 5-minute delay in Buckingham. Buckingham's fire calls are about a 50-50 split, daytime and to evening. And the risk is about 50-50 split as well. You get a lot of travelling through Buckingham, so you get from Oxford to Milton Keynes. You've got a lot of schools, a lot of private schools, and a lot of road traffic. And then obviously you've got a lot of sleeping risks in the evening, hotels and boarding schools alike.
Thank you.
Okay. If I see somebody else's hand up on that side, John's and then Anya, I think.
Has demand for all the services of the fire service offer, is the trend upwards or downwards or about left these days?
Well, it varies in type. Non-fire has certainly increased. 53% of the incidents that we respond to are not fire related. They are road traffic accidents and a whole range of other things that may seem, they're not as dramatic as fires, obviously, and fortunately don't have the consequences. But in terms of numbers, 53% are not fires. Modern houses are less dangerous because you've had Roger and confirm planning changes that mean you've got the smoke alarms are a statutory requirement on new buildings. So there's an ongoing change.
With that, nationally, fire deaths have only increased, have gone up. Because we can make houses as safe as we can, we do, but double glazing in them, we make them really, really secure, and then we fill them up with whatever the people want. So the hoarding, furniture, some furniture, a lot of furniture, it doesn't come to a standard, and the fire loading kills people. The house won't kill people because what's in fire inside the house. So modern building standards, yes, they've gone up, they've made it slightly safer for the individuals because we have to install smoke alarms that have to be in there. Some domestic properties now around the country may even have some kind of misting system, suppression system, or sprinkler system. That's not everywhere. You've got to pay a pretty penny a premium, and the people that are on the poverty line, people that are on social housing, that kind of stuff, they're not going to get those houses. They're going to get the cheap housing stock. They're not going to be, as soon as someone goes over their threshold into their house, that's down to them. They can live how they want to live. And the most of the fires that we have across Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes are from lower income houses.
I've got Anya next.
Of the 2 fire engines stationed in Buckingham, so we know one of them is fully crewed during the daytime and the other one is on call. You have mentioned one occasion in the last year when the on-call engine was called out. That was to the big fire in Bicester. Apart from that, how many times has the on-call crewed engine actually attended a fire in the last year, roughly off the top of your head?
Unfortunately, in the last year, it's not attended very many fires because Buckinghamshire Fire Rescue Service failed to crew Buckingham Fire Station fully as a whole-time fire station over the last few years. So we've not had the whole time. So the on-call at night is supporting the whole-time colleagues so that we can make sure that we guarantee to get one fire engine out there. With a little bit of investment, we can guarantee to get two out of there with the people and the equipment that we've got at Buckingham.
Two questions. One, to Lou, when the proposals were put forward, can we have a little bit about the historics about it and the fact that when the proposals were put forward, the FBU were present in the meeting and were made fully aware of the proposals? And secondly, the historics around those proposals not going forward previously and the failure to address on-call for close on a decade.
Well, I think unfortunately it's a political issue. That I said in the consultation pack, there's a graph that illustrates this perfectly well, that on-call availability has declined dramatically over the last 10 years. Unfortunately, the previous administration didn't do anything about that. And in fact, during the period 2014 to 2019, they dramatically reduced numbers, which Kieran will agree with. And we have been built whole time back up to just over 300 now. So that was the background. The numbers have declined anyway, but they're declining nationally, as I said earlier, for changes in attitudes. And I gave you some figures from our latest recruitment round, which shows how difficult it is. I think in terms of the proposals coming forward, yes, they were put forward to the previous administration as part of a workshop, but it wasn't a meeting of the authority. And then there was a lot of new members on the fire authority, went to another workshop and took a slightly different view, that they thought the officers, who are professionals after all, should carry on and take this through to public consultation. And that's where we're at now. There's not a decision on any of this. It will come to a meeting of the fire authority in March.
And just for clarity, the FBU were present at that meeting.
Oh, the FBU have been involved all the way through. Mitch Wallace, I don't know what his title is here, but
He's the secretary, but the FBU, which any union is the membership. So they may represent the union in a meeting, but they don't give the voice of a union. So a union's voice is done through vote and through attending meetings and providing resolutions. So anybody that knows how a union works, that is how a union works. So we don't have one person that speaks on our behalf. They do speak on our behalf, but through that democratic process.
Right, I'm very aware because our public session is supposed to last 15 minutes. We're now on 24 minutes. So I'm just going to take Howard and then I think we need to get on with the rest of the meeting.
The number of facts we heard that some of the fire engines haven't been used for 5 years. And also, a fire engine cannot go out unless there's 4 members as a crew. And the idea is that the Buckingham one will be replaced with a rural fire engine, which presumably is more capable of going over rough ground. But then I think we all know that fortunately, the number of fires that actually occur are less than used to be when the fire service came about. That's why it's invented. There's many car accidents or those sorts of things. Now, a rural fire engine, if you like, that's for want of a better term, is that capable of actually attending a road traffic accident with the same equipment as a normal fire engine.
No, so the rural firefighting unit is a special, we've got them in brigade at the moment, so if you want to research this, there's probably information on the Bucks Fire website. It is a fantastic piece of equipment. I'm not saying that it isn't. It's designed for what we needed during 2022, which was the world caught fire. As you remember, there was wildfires all over the country, and that is something that was bought, which we needed to respond to that. The equipment they carry on now is very limited. There's no road traffic collision equipment, so there's no cut and gear, that kind of stuff. When they start going into that kind of rounds, it goes into the smaller kind of fire engines, like in the Hebrides of Scotland, you know, the smaller islands have got. Whereas at the moment, we've got the Type B fire appliance, which can go out. Another thing as well is that if we do get a mechanical issue with the fire engine at Buckingham, Packer 1, we'll call it, quite often, or not often, on a few occasions, we have to jump across onto the fire engine so that we can respond to the local people. We haven't got that ability, and that second fire engine, we can't do that, so we have to respond. So obviously, these are a lot of arguments that we've had with the service. We are obviously fighting for the people of Buckingham and the fires. Then all I would like to say is the FBU has got a national standing that we do not see with any fire station closed and the loss of any fire engines, because we need them. That's where we stand as a union.
Okay, thanks very much. We're going to carry on with the meeting. You're more than welcome to stay in here, Roger.
No,
You want to run away. Thank you so much for coming and giving us. Yeah. Okay, so we did apologies for absence.
Yeah.
We forgot Councillor Singh. Councillor Singh and Councillor Ahmed. Okay. Right, do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Stutchbury.
I have to declare a personal interest. I am executive member of the fire authority in charge of health and safety.
Thank you. Okay, so minutes to agree as a correct record, the minutes of the meeting of the full council meeting held on the 3rd of November 2025. Great. Thank you. Item 4, planning committee.
Right, exercise, good morning. So I put before you the minutes of the planning committees held on 22nd of September, the 13th of October and 10th of November, if you'll approve it, please.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. Yeah,
Agreed.
Item 5, town centre events committee.
Personally, minutes to note, but I would like to put on record and record on record our thanks to the staff throughout Christmas period with the Christmas lights, the Morgan Business Saturday, and the funding and the staff stewarding and taking the responsibility of the safeguarding of the Christmas parade, plus everything else they've done in the 12 months up to this point. I think we've had various different members of staff. That is now regularising, and that's a great thing. And I think it's been a difficult year to do events for the whole of the council, various different people taking different responsibilities. And I'd like to record, if in a minute, our thanks to that continued effort that we did manage to put on the events on time, on budget and safe, even though we were relying on goodwill throughout the whole entire process.
Yeah, so
Do we agree the minutes?
Can't agree them.
Received.
Okay. Item 6, environment committee.
Yeah, I'd like to propose the minutes of the Environment Committee that was held on 6th of October.
Agreed.
Received, yeah.
Received, agreed. Good there. Resources committee.
Yeah, I would like to do exactly the same as what Lucy just did, but for the resources committee.
Received.
Thank you very much. Then we move on to item 8. Appendix A. I hope that you've all managed to read through the documents associated with this and take note of both Kieran Thomas and Lou Munger's presentations to us. So the consultation questions we need to go through and come up with answers for. Are we going to do them individually one at a time?
That's your call, Chair.
Probably needed.
I think it does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's an important thing. Very important thing. So, okay, question one. To what extent do you agree or disagree that Buckingham Fire and Rescue Service needs to make changes to the way it uses its resources to address the challenges outlined above? Councillor Schaefer.
Having read through the documents and also having heard the two presentations, I understand that in an ideal world, we would have on-call staff members to fully to make the on-call engines available at all time. This is not the world we are in. We have read the report, we have understood the difficulty of recruiting on-call staff to actually make these engines available all the time. And given that this is a national problem and has been going on for many years, I do not see that it's likely that it's going to change anytime soon. Under these circumstances, it seems to me that changes are necessary.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Draper?
Sort of just to semi-echo what Councillor Schaefer said, it's clear that something's broken. Whether these proposals are what's going to fix it, I don't know. Something has to change. So I would propose that we say that yes, or that we agree to an extent that something needs to change in the way things are currently.
Okay.
Can I just say, all of these, it's a out of 5.
Yeah. With one being disagree and or strongly disagree. Yeah, that way.
Can we go proposing and seconding for each
So
of
then
these?
I think we're going to need to.
Yeah. So out of 5?
4.
Anybody else? John, Councillor Harvey?
I will, I had a fire in my house 6 years ago. And fire engines turned up. And they put the fire out. And they were wonderful and professional. And very, very effective. They didn't fill my house with water, which I'm most grateful for that. But I do know that to put the fire out and to secure the building, they had to call on resources from quite a wide area. We had something approaching like Thunderbird 2 that came from Aylesbury to put in place some wooden struts because they didn't know whether the beam that had been on fire was a low-bearing beam or not, so they had to shore up the house. So I've experienced the service from Buckinghamshire Fire Brigade and was and remained very impressed. And I hear what you're saying, Lou, about the reduction in demand in terms of fire. As we've learned this evening, that the rural fighting units, firefighting, whatever they're called, don't have the capacity to respond to road traffic collisions in the same way that the large engines can. Maybe there's something could change. Then I would be very, very reluctant to lose the capacity here in Buckingham. And I do think that on behalf of the Buckingham people, because that's what we're here on behalf of, I think to our job is not to, in a sense, our job is not to accept the management speak within the report. Our job is to represent people in Buckingham, and I think it's our job to ensure that the service is available to our people locally.
This first question is a broad scoping
Yeah, I've
one,
been
so
told in my answer.
it's not specifically directed at Buckingham,
Yeah, but-
it's Buckinghamshire.
We can only respond about Buckingham, that's our job. I don't care what happens to Stoke Church in many ways. I don't care what happens at Cheshire. I don't really care what happens in Dorset, in a sense. Because, or even in Danford, it's not Buckingham, we are the Buckingham Town Council.
Right, thank you.
And we have a fire service in our town, and I don't want to see any reduction in its capacity. And I want there to be a full investigation as to why it's not possible to recruit retained firefighters. It may be a broad thing, but we're not paying them enough. That's we should be finding people who are worthwhile for the pay.
Right, thank you very much, John. We've got Councillor Schaefer and Councillor Stretchbury.
I do not want to see a reduction of safety or for the people of Buckingham and surrounding villages, because Buckingham Fire Station obviously does not serve just Buckingham. That is absolutely given. I should also like to point out, and I think we've heard it before, but it's important to remind ourselves, there are 2 fire engines at Buckingham Fire Station. One of them is fully crewed, and that is the one that goes out in over 99% of the cases. Now, I don't know this for certain, but it is very likely that it will have been the one that was first on the scene at the fire that John unfortunately had in his house. A fire engine that has no crew to take it out is no use to anybody. If the fire engine one, the fully crewed one, was at a call in, for the sake of argument, Gorkard, and you could be living next to the fire station in Buckingham, and if your house was on fire and the on-call crew took 20 minutes to get there, you'd probably have a fire engine from Milton Keynes there before that, or from Aylesbury, that would put out your fire. And would I like to see 2 fire engines there that are always ready to go out? Yes, of course I would. But the recruitment of full-time staff, and it is in the report, is, you know, we cannot even find full-time staff that would staff all those engines, never mind on-call staff. And it isn't just a question of pay, it's a question of changing work patterns. It's not ideal, but fire engines that sit there and don't go out anywhere don't make anybody any safer. And using the same resources for a different purpose, for a vehicle that can't do everything, but it can do other things, is more flexible. I am I'm pretty persuaded by the argument that that would actually make us safer rather than less safe. We're not abolishing, or nobody is proposing, that we would have no fully crewed, fully equipped fire engine in Buckingham. There's the one that would definitely remain. So nobody is proposing that this is taken away, and that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you. Councillor Stretchbury?
Yeah, just I have a responsibility for everybody's safety in Buckinghamshire. I have to review the whole of it and the whole of the council, 2 principal authorities, both Milton Keynes and Buckinghamshire. If there was a route plan to not do this, it would have been done easily over the previous 10 years. It hasn't been done. Not addressing something and not using your resources to address it in an orderly manner and freeing up resources to make yourself more effective is negative. And there's a risk in doing that, that you've noticed that there is a risk. We have a failing service, and if we don't address it, it will carry on failing. It will cost roughly, I think it's £3 million, which isn't going to be in the budget to staff it. But then those fire engines won't go out because it works on a rota of time. If that fire engine can't turn out, the next ready fire engine goes to it. The reason Buckingham went to Bicester is because it was the next ready fire engine, and often that's the way. It doesn't work on, we must wait until we've got all the crew in Buckingham to go, in the second engine to go out, because somebody would have had to have been there. But the fire service has to try and meet its 8 minutes or 7 minutes timetable. And that has to be met. So we're meeting that now, as was said, by 90-something% of it. And the idea that it's run by bureaucrats management, most of the actual senior officers of firefighting are active firemen. They can go out on a fire, on a shout, and they still can actually operate within the fire crews. But the point about it's a misnomer. The point about the fire units, rural firefight units, apart from I've looked at them once, and I'm not a trained firefighter, apart from the fact that the equipment that goes on and is going to be a choice of the fire authority, and it will be a choice of the management and the safety officer, which I was in a meeting today with them. If that needs to be upskilled to have equipment on it for cars, they can be put in there. So the idea that it isn't in there now doesn't mean it isn't going to be in there. You only need 2 people to operate the guillotine to cut somebody out of the car. By that time, another engine could have arrived. So all these things are possible. The great thing about the fire authority is it's got highly skilled, highly motivated, probably not paid enough, I'll give you that, but that's the world we live in, to do it. It isn't a crew of, they're not bureaucrats, they're active working people who run the fire authority. It's an unusual kindred spirit, and that's where we are.
Okay, I'm going to take Lucy, and then I'm going to get a vote on this first point, and then I think we need to start really working through this. Otherwise we're going to be here all night. We've got planning meetings to do as well.
Which was kind of my point, that, you know, we could sit here and debate all night on whether or not we think the change is appropriate. But the question that we were looking to answer, the question I proposed to answer, agree on, is to what extent do you agree or disagree that Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service needs to make changes to the way it uses its resources to address the challenges outlined above. And I think we can all agree that changes need to happen, you know, whether they are what's in the proposal or not, we can discuss that later. But the first question is, do changes need to be made? And I think that's fairly.
So we've got a proposal from you that we're going for number 4, so
Second.
strongly. So we're going to vote on that, please. All those in favour of going into number 4, that we agree, not strongly agree. Tend to agree, is that, yeah, okay. Okay, anybody against?
Abstain.
We've got, yeah, 2 votes, one abstention. That's carried. Okay, next question is, to what extent do you agree or disagree that placing some on-call fire engines with specialist vehicles would help Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service make better use of its resources?
Yes.
Councillor Neil, what do you mean?
Well, I don't really agree with this, because about a year ago, I was walking between the rugby club and Chiltern, and the electricity cable snapped through the field, set the field on fire, and the fire engine from Buckingham, which we got down there perfectly to put it across the field. So, and I don't see how often this is going to be used, personally, because although we're a rural area, we're not really hearing. And I think most of these fire engines can get to where we need to get to.
So, I think the point with it is they can be sent out as an immediate response by 2 trained firefighters, whereas in order to send the full size fire engine out, they need 4, but they're designed for 5. So this is the reason that they're talking about putting these in.
As with John, I was talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got 2 engines, which
But this is replacing some on-call fire engines.
I don't think it needs to replace it in Buckingham. That's one.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Councillor Allen.
I can understand passion about this. It's a really big call for us to make, to be honest with you. but I do think we have to respect that technology changes all the time. And that these vehicles are fit for purpose. The new vehicles that we're proposing for the second question, replacing it on some on-call engines with specialist vehicles. So again, I would say, for me, I agree with this point and would strongly suggest fall for it again.
Okay, so is that proposal?
Yeah, and I'll second that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the vote on that one, please. All those in favour of going for that, we tend to agree with that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Any against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Abstentions? 1, 2. That's carried again. Okay, so third question: to what extent do you agree or disagree that the quickest appropriate vehicle should be sent to an incident regardless of which station it's sent from? I can't see that there's can be any argument about that. Yes, so
Proposal 5.
I would propose.
No, let's send it slow.
5 on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, second by Councillor Mahi. All those in favour? That's unanimous. But no, it's not, apart from Councillor Stutchbury, who's abstaining. To what extent do you agree or disagree with Buckingham Fire and Rescue Services proposal to reduce the number of on-call fire engines rating to 11 with the aim of having remaining engines more reliably available? Councillor Schaefer.
At this point, I'd just like to draw attention to one element of the report for the consultation, that one of the proposals appears to be that by reducing the number of on-call engines, you could distribute the same number of on-call firefighters. There is not a proposal to also reduce the number of on-call firefighters. So therefore, you could have more on-call firefighters available for the other on-call engines, and therefore you could, for example, maybe have Winslow come out more reliably if it had more on-call firefighters available. So I think on that basis, I'm minded to agree that this might increase the availability rather than reduce the availability of on-call engines, and I propose a 4 for that one.
Thank you. Councillor Roger.
Sorry to. I don't understand why more on-call firefighters would be available. If you live in Buckingham and you've only got one in Winslow, if Winslow haven't got on call, then they can't come out. Because I believe that you have to live within so many minutes of the fire station. So if you haven't got enough there, where are they going to come from? The fire engine will be late.
I believe Buckingham is within 10 minutes of Winslow Fire Station.
Councillor Harlan.
Okay, 10 minutes of Winslow, I might not get in your car again. I would say that the fire that I had was on New Year's Eve, so it's not exactly peak time when people are available, but they also have enough. And my recollection is, and it could be wrong, is I think there were at least 3 pumps there, if not more. I really can't remember it now, but it was certainly not just one. Several turned up. And my view is if we reduce the number of retained fire engines, then we also reduce the pressure to recruit. And I'm not, I don't know, if there's information there that I'd like to know it, but I'm not persuaded that enough effort has been put in to finding new retained firefighters. I appreciate all of what you said about the complexities of employees who want to let people go and so on, because everyone's cut resources to the bare bone in many organisations these days. I get all of that. And I get there are some changes and so on. But there are also other changes that happen where demand could increase. I mean, the increase in the road electric vehicles. We know how difficult it is to put fires out in those, and so on. And there are other factors that will be taken into account. So I'm reluctant to agree to a statement that we should reduce the retained fire engines without there being a proper research study into why it's not easy to actually get retained firefighters. And also that we should delay it at least 2 years while that study's underway. I don't really taking it away from Buckingham.
I believe that there has been a lot of research done into this, and I think it's all in the documents that were circulated alongside this. It's not just something that's been, and it's something that's been ongoing for several years. It's my understanding. So yeah, I'm like you can keep on doing more consultations and more research into things. When do you get to the point that you say, well, I keep coming back with the same answer? Do we go ahead and consult on it, or do we carry on seeing if we can do another research project and find it comes up with a different answer? Councillor Stutchbury.
Yeah, great question, John. Reality is, been in the fire authority for quite a number of years.
You're not allowed, on a point of order, if a councillor declares an interest in a subject, they are not allowed to speak on that subject. You only have to look at the rules we are governed by, and it will tell you that.
Well, for a point of order.
No, you should not speak. It's up to the mayor, you should not speak.
Howard, just for the record, before I come to this meeting, I sought legal advice. My legal advice said that I have.
This council is governed by our standing orders.
Let's not have
Howard, I know you're very unhappy that I'm speaking, Howard, but if you have any complaint.
Okay, so I think Councillor Stutchbury is using his position not to he's not voting on things. However, he is in a position where he has information that the rest of the people around the table don't have. And I'm of the understanding that he sought advice from Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue and from Buckinghamshire Council, on whose behalf he sits on that committee, and they've told him he's allowed to. Otherwise, I wouldn't let him.
Thank you. In which case, I was going to say,
Monitoring this.
you're welcome to. What I would like to say to you is that the reality is that, as I've been on the firefight for a number of years, it's been an terrible trouble to try and get recruitment. It has been on every risk assessment of the fire authority to do so, and every opportunity has been sought to do so. The sad reality is it hasn't happened. Hence the consultation, which the thing with this meeting and the consultation, the legal advice is that until such decision is there's been predetermined. When a decision is predetermined, you have a prejudicial issue. And there's no predetermined decision because the consultation is not a predetermination of a decision. Until the consultation is completed, at that point, that would be a decision.
Right. You can make sure that you keep any responses from now to factual answering of any points, then I think we can carry on. So, okay, we did have a proposal on this question about the proposal to reduce the number of on-call fire engines from 18 to 11 with the remaining 80s more likely available. We had a proposal from Councillor Schaefer. Did we have a seconder on that? Do we have any other proposal? Councillor Harvey.
I propose two that we disagree.
Okay, do we have a seconder on that?
We'll second it.
Okay. That's Councillor Roger Newell. So we'll go to the vote on that. All those in favour of responding to 2 on that?
What is two? What's the?
2 is tend to disagree.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those against? That's 4, and abstentions? 2. So that's responding to 2 on that, okay? So next one, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the proposal to replace Great Lisbon Fire Station? Councillor Draper, I think first.
I think.
Okay, Councillor Try then.
And he hasn't spoken yet.
Oh, yeah, it up.
No.
I think this is a very difficult one to answer because, as has been said around the table, we are in Buckingham, not in these other places. But also there's a question about the staff management as well, because just because they haven't been called out doesn't mean to say they couldn't have been called out if it had been managed in a different way. So, you know, to what extent do you agree with permanently closing the fire station? Well, I mean, you could say that about Buckingham, really, couldn't you? You know, what do you feel like, really?
So my understanding of this is.
Well, not what your understanding is, surely this is the question here.
Because I've read the documents, my understanding from reading the documents and looking into it, that Great Missenden haven't had, Great Missenden is a wholly retained station.
Yes.
And they haven't actually turned out at all in 2 years.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had enough crew to do so. So I would propose that we go on number 3 on this. We neither agree nor disagree.
Seconded.
Absolutely.
So can we get a vote on that, please? I think that's apart from Councillor Stutchby and.
No, I don't think we should be voting on it, something that does not consent.
Well, no, because we neither agree nor disagree. So it's a neutral position. Yeah. So you're abstaining as well, okay? That's fine, and then the same question about statement.
I propose that you say.
Yeah, so those in favour of going number 3, we neither agree nor disagree on that. And that's. Councillor McNeil. No, okay, those disagree. We're just going for, we are neither agree nor disagree, and those who are abstaining. So that's 3%, but it's carried. So neither agree with. To what extent do you agree or disagree with Buckingham Chair Fire and Rescue Services proposed changes to on-call provision to make better use of public money?
Different.
Okay, Councillor Draper.
So I'm not, the difficulty here is obviously, it all depends what the need is, and we can't predict what the need is going to be. There's a lot of data there on what the need has been in the past. We all know that with climate change, the summers are getting drier and everything else is getting wetter. So the rural fire vehicle, as I understand it, would be better suited to those kind of flood situations. Again, all of these questions are really difficult because we can't predict what's going to happen in the future. However, I would argue to some extent that the data is there. They've done a lot of research. They've done kind of data predictions on what's happened in the past and trying to, then it's people's lives. They're not. I trust that the Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service and the people that have done these studies aren't going to have taken these decisions lightly. And so I would propose that we tend to agree that it will make better use of public money.
So I've just been told there's also a don't know box, but whereas we've already decided to neither agree nor disagree on those 2 previous, Councillor Schaefer.
I would second councillor Draper's proposal. We are being asked to not make decisions because we're not making decisions. This is a consultation.
Yeah.
And a lot of these questions would require significant technical knowledge. Therefore, I'm quite reluctant to say that I think I know better how to model the data or to predict the demand or what vehicles are better suited for future demand. And on that occasion, I think on that basis, on the balance of what I've read in the evidence pack and the consultation document, I am minded to agree that it is probably a better use of public money. And this is something that as public representatives, we do need to really pay attention to, because this is also taxpayers' money, our residents' money, and it needs to be used in a way that is most likely to keep them safe. And so.
Okay, so we've got a proposal by Councillor Draper to go, tend to agree, seconded by Councillor Schaefer. We're going to move to the vote on that one. All those in favour going tend to agree on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those against? 1, 2. And those abstaining? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you, that's carried. Then the next one is, to what extent do you agree or disagree that the Chief Fire Officer on behalf of Buckingham Fire and Rescue Service should have operational independence to determine the makeup and distribution of services, operational fleets and resources? Now, my personal view on this is I don't know enough about the way the Fire and Rescue Service is their management structure and how they operate. So I'm going to put my hands up here and say when I did this, I answered and neither agree nor disagree.
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
Or maybe they don't know.
Don't know.
Or not. Yeah.
I can't believe actually that the Chief Fire Officer doesn't have this ability to make these decisions now, because presumably they report to a board and they're monitored by other people, but to have your every staff change, you're second guessed by people who are elected, seems ridiculous to me. I can't imagine how anyone would actually run it. So when I read this, I thought, yes, thank goodness, it sounds brilliant.
So is that, are you proposing a different answer to?
Yes, I propose to support it. I'm not quite sure where to get the numbers.
Okay. All right, so we've got 2 proposals.
Just to give a bit of information on that. Just to say that.
Factual information.
It's factual. Just say that the reason it's proposed is because at the moment, when it comes to radical day-to-day movements, if there's a change which is discussed and it's a safety issue, I mean, it allows the chief of the fire authority to make that decision immediately without having to regress back to the elected members to give a commission. Because it's a health and safety issue mostly. Most day-to-day things that we know of, there would never be a need for it. In emergencies and special circumstances, it allows the chief to have that freedom, which he hasn't got at the moment. And if you want to read anything, you can read the facts of it's being discussed all around the country at the moment, and there's various opinions on it.
Okay. So we've got 2 proposals, John.
Well, we've got one proposal on the table, because we only have one proposal on the table at a time. But I always support the second proposal when the first one falls. Because of course, chief fire officers should have the same operational independence as the chief police officer. I mean, it's crazy that it has to go to a committee for these sort of basic decisions that strategically do ought to have. So I would support the second.
I will withdraw my proposal in that case. I'm feeling the feeling in the room. I will withdraw my proposal, so that the proposal on the table is proposed by Councillor Jane Mordew, I think.
Yep.
And
Seconded.
seconded by Councillor Ruth Newell. It would have been already been done.
Sure, that's fine, so
yeah.
you don't mind.
So all those in favour of
What
going,
number was
are we going strongly agree with that one?
I would, yes.
Yeah, okay, strongly agree. Yeah, all those in favour? So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 against. 1 and 1 abstention, so that's carried. Right, okay, we're getting there. Do we have any other comments about Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Services proposed changes to resourcing and how they might?
No.
What about the one above?
One.
What about the one?
If anybody has,
You've missed.
You missed
the
one.
have I?
Yeah,
If the chief fire officer on behalf is given
Oh,
operation.
right, sorry. If they're giving operational independence, to extent you agree or disagree, it should be able to make strategic operational decisions, which is probably, well, if we
second
agree
part.
that they should do, we
Yeah.
probably agree that it's on.
Yeah.
We can't dare.
Try.
no, I a little bit of disagree with that. I think this is going into very much detail. Some of these I agree with and some I don't. So, no, I disagree with all of these statements overall. But obviously, depending on how the structure is made and it's all working, some of these should happen. Yes, agreed by the chief fire officer. But others, maybe like the directors and senior officers, they shouldn't be top of the pyramid just to be able to dismiss them without another peer reviewing it.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so the first one then. Do we disagree with that then?
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're
so-
taking it as a whole, Mayor.
No, as in the appointment dismissal of staff one.
Oh, I see, we're going bullet by bullet, are we?
They were as one, but they're not separate
Oh, they-
questions, so, okay,
Oh, okay.
So appointment dismissal of staff, do we strongly disagree or tend to disagree?
Strongly disagree.
Okay, we've proposal and seconded for that. So councillor Try and councillor Draper. Those in favour, strongly disagree. I think that's unanimous. No, it's not unanimous, sorry. 1, 2, how would you put your hands up again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 against. 2 and abstentions. 2, okay. Right, so that's carried to go strongly disagree. Allocation of staff to meet priorities where staff are based or located. Councillor Draper.
I propose that we agree, we tend to agree.
Tend to agree. Okay.
Second.
Seconded by councillor O'Donoghue. All those in favour? So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Against 1 and 1 abstention. Then the next one, configuration and organisation of resources.
Tend to agree. Tend to agree. Tend to agree. Yeah.
Configuration seconder, please. Councillor Try, councillor Jane Mordew. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Against 1, 2, and 1 abstention. Which one? The deployment of resources, when, how, and where staff vehicles and equipment are used. Councillor Try.
Again, this is a bit high level for a fire officer to be making. Surely this should be down to some operational ops room or something when things happen.
John.
It won't all pass through the chief fire officer. It's giving that person, whoever it is, the authority to create the structure in which this will happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope so.
So it's like we allocate stuff to the town clerk.
Yeah.
The town clerk then organises their staff to make things happen. We don't get involved in that minutiae. And of course, you're right, there'll be operational directors to make some decisions there and everything else. The question is a lot of these things are taking away what has hitherto been part of the democratic structure. And therefore, I think we need to be thinking, are we moving towards a more professional based structure where the chief fire officer has more or less total control, as the chief police officer does, over operational matters, or whether the fire authority wants to retain any kind of influence on those operational decisions, strategic and operational decisions. And I think I've edged towards, but I mean, let's be clear, we're being a bit inconsistent here. We voted against some things, but we're just about to give the power to do those things to the chief fire officer. So it's a kind of complicated situation.
Got Councillor Donahue and Councillor Schaefer.
Thank you. I think this goes along with the allocation of staff to meet priorities, which I think we said tend to agree on that one. So I would propose that we tend to agree for this one as well.
Okay, do you have a second of that?
Yeah.
I don't know who believe that hand up first. So we vote on that one then, please. Those in favour of tending to agree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 against. And abstentions. 1, 2, 3, that's carried. Balancing competing operation needs, allocating resources between areas in an emergency or emergent situation. Councillor O'Donoghue.
So again, 4, yeah.
Yeah, 4.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Somebody second it.
I second it.
All those in favour? And that is apart from Councillor Stutchbury, I think that was everybody. And then expenditure within delegated limits.
Same.
10 to 3, yes?
Yeah, Andy proposed, I'll second.
Okay, those in favour? And that's everybody again, I think, apart from Councillor Stutchbury. Right, okay. If you've got any other comments that you want to put onto it, obviously you can do this consultation yourselves as well. Please email the office in the next 24 hours or so, and it can then get added if
I would say, because it's a controversial topic now, I would suggest if anybody wants to, they would need to be voted on.
Okay.
It's not like there's consensus in the room.
Right, okay. Right, thank you for that. Thank you for your wise words. Done.
I would simply propose that any changes that are brought in by the fire authority are properly evidence based. I don't mean evidence by looking at the numbers, but I mean research based, where it shows that this is the best course of action. We wouldn't be telling a doctor to cut things back on the basis of how many patients they saw last year. There should be some evidence base in here, and if there isn't evidence base, the fire service should be getting that evidence base now, because clearly this is a question of risk, and we need to know what the evidence is. I've looked at the report, and there's nothing in there apparently about research referenced in the report about, for example, what attempts have been made to recruit retained firefighters. For example, is Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes better or worse than Oxfordshire? Better or worse than, say, Yorkshire? Better or worse than Powys or whatever else we're looking at? Do we even have that data? And if some counties are doing it better than other counties, how come? Is it purely down to local demographics, or are there some things that they've done that we haven't done here in Buckinghamshire? So I think that research needs to be done before we make some irreversible changes to the scale and scope of the fire service.
Just factual information. The same professional officers that you've given, I think, quite a lot of support to today, takes the legal responsibility for doing these things. And do you think that people who put a lifetime work into being just protecting people would do anything? And the evidence nationally and locally has been collated for getting on for a decade. And the reason this is going forward, because based on that experience information, you can go and write a question to the chief of the fire officer, and she will give you all that information and the reason they're doing it. And then any decision that comes out of this will have to be evaluated against the consultation, against anything that comes out through the consultation, and any substantial things that we've not learned. So at that point, it will be evaluated, and it's a legal obligation to do these things, and it will meet all the legal obligations. Otherwise, the chief wouldn't be able to sign it off.
Just going to say,
One very quick
Councillor
comment.
Jones.
Going right back to the beginning of this discussion on Councillor Draper, mentioned where Buckingham is situated, and it's almost like a desert of firefighters in this area. I just commented that Buckingham is a very long county. And if there isn't sufficient provision up here, it's a very, very long way. I'm Great Britain and all these places further south. They are a very, very long way.
Really, Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes follow.
Yeah.
And we are on the border of Northamptonshire and Oxfordshire.
Oh, I know.
They do provide, so John, I think it's made a proposal that he wants that to be as a comment on there, is there
Yeah,
something?
I'm proposing that as a comment, and given what else stuff has said factually, then what I'm proposing is not in any way controversial.
I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying, so somebody's seconded it. Councillor Roger Newell is seconding it. So all those vote, Chair, can I just, what? Sorry.
Councillor Harvey proposed that any changes brought in are properly evidence-based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Research, I think you said. Yeah, well, for me, that's what evidence-based means. It means researched and shown to be good practice.
Okay. So, raised by councillor Harvey, seconded by councillor Roger Newell. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Any against? And abstentions? Oh, that's carried. Okay. Right, thank you very much everybody for that. The next item on the agenda is the recommendation from the Equality, Community, Diversity and Inclusion Working Group. Unfortunately, Councillor Ahmed is not able to be here tonight. This is the Business and Community Engagement Officer has put together the report on this. Do you want to talk on it?
With the recommendation is that members discuss the proposal for Buckingham to mark its first Pride celebration, reflecting events held across many towns and cities, and to agree recommendations for consideration by full council. So this was an item that was discussed by ECDI, and they have as a working group put that forth to full council for them. They recommend supporting that proposal.
I didn't see you vote first, but I'm going to go Councillor Jacob and Councillor.
I propose we agree so I think it's a great proposal. Any excuse to celebrate love and any excuse for people to celebrate their lives, I think is fantastic. You know, we already raised the flag for Pride Month. The fact that this has come from a local business that want to host most of the events, they're not asking us to host events, they're not asking us to host marches, they just want a hand with sort of promoting, advertising, a little bit of communication, maybe some organising between businesses. They're not asking us to take on that kind of ownership of it. I think it's great, and it would be great for community relations. It'd be great for the town council to work alongside other businesses. So I would propose that we accept.
Thank you, Councillor Draper.
Happy to second.
Councillor Stutchford.
I'm happy to second it and also say that this is coming forward from a group of people we've asked to look at this stuff. And everybody said it, we then said no, because in it, and I think town's growing, the community's growing, every community is growing in town. It seems a very logical thing to do. And who knows where it will lead to.
I'm going to take Councillor Harvey and then we're going to.
Yeah, obviously, yes, of course. I mean, yes, it'll be great.
Good,
you know.
good. Excellent, right, so all those in favour of accepting the recommendation from the ECDI, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 against and abstentions, 1 abstention, so that's carried. Thank you very much.
Switch out now, I'm going out.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Get speeding back to Windsor.
10 minutes. Somebody say go.
You've done it.
Okay, right, so that's that one. And then 9.2 is to agree a budget £200 for ECDI activities for the next financial year. I'd like those that we accept this.
Second.
Agreed.
All those in favour? Excellent, that's unanimous, I believe. Okay, and then we've got a motion from Councillor Haydock. Would you like to talk on that, please?
Yeah, I think it's all written down what I was going to say, so I'll just say very briefly. Climate emergency plan was developed by the council 6 years ago now, and it's not had a substantial review since that time or any substantial changes. And many things have changed in the town and the outer world, and climate impacts are being felt more keenly than ever before. And it just feels like the right time to look again at both the target for 2030 and the plan itself.
Thank you very much. I think, I don't know whether it's Councillor Schaefer or Councillor Draper that had their hand up first.
I mean, I was just going to second.
Yeah, same here.
All right, do we need to have a debate on it in that case tonight? I think it's very worthy motion. All those in favour? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Any against? And abstentions? 1 abstention. Okay, thank you very much. Item 11 on your agenda, you've seen a note from the town clerk saying that this is no longer relevant, basically.
Yes, it's sent to us in error, but I put it on the agenda and slide back.
All right, so we agree to discount item 11. Do we need to vote on that? Okay, thank you very much. Don't believe that we had any reports from agencies on how to body come in. No, okay, and then receiving question reports from Buckingham Council councillors, Councillor Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. There haven't been any full council meetings since we last gave a report, so there's nothing to report on that side. I have attended not 1 but 2 stakeholder meetings related to flooding in Buckingham, one organised by Buckinghamshire Council and chaired by the cabinet member, and another one chaired and organised by the office of our MP. These have discussed various schemes, and I'm not proposing I'll talk anybody through this here. All of this is moving very slowly, but there are some concrete proposals which in the fullness of time might make a difference.
Thank you. That's really...
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and just to say, attended several cabinet meetings. Tomorrow I'll attend cabinet to ask a question about growth and infrastructure and SIL, because we haven't been responded to. I attended cabinet, asked a question around tourism. Attended cabinet, asked a question about the 260+ thousand pounds for flooding, which didn't seem to be allocated to Buckingham, which was allocated to other places in North Buckinghamshire, but not Buckingham. I questioned, attended cabinet and questioned about the educational cuts, the 0.5% in funding to send. Attended planning meeting, which was a privilege. Attended transport and the environment, and brought a question which come from Councillor Harvey, which was around the use of buses from Silverstone, and such that all these are written responses. Attended children's services and education, and re-questioned the cabinet member over other response to do with the cuts in SEND education, because I wasn't happy with the first response. And then, fortunately, after that, it went to the school forum, and they said they weren't happy with it either. And the cabinet member, the new cabinet member, not the previous cabinet member, reversed the decision. So I think when somebody sees something wrong and reverses decision, it's got to be applauded. Attended growth and infrastructure committee. I also attended health I also have attended numerous fire authority meetings, 4 actually in the past month, and also attended licensing for my sins. But what I will say is the last meeting today was very much your earlier item on the agenda. It was health and safety, and we were discussing many things about health and safety in the fire authority, and the officers who are professionals were making recommendations and talking on what needs to do. And I can assure you that those meetings are quite in depth and detailed.
Thank you, Robin. Anybody got any questions for our Shire Councillors? Okay, so we'll move on to the action report. Anybody got Councillor Try?
2 points. I notice there's no reference numbers against these actions. So sometimes it's difficult to reference them and talk to them. I don't understand the last one about the cemetery, because that was a long time ago, obviously with Councillor Willett as well. But I couldn't quite understand where it was coming from or going to, because there's no action either, or deadline rather.
I was asked, yeah, I'm not sure why that's it's not intentional. I was asked to complete a summary of the actions taken in regard to the development of the cemetery. It's on my to-do list.
In regard to the what?
The cemetery, how we basically got our cemetery.
Oh, okay.
I think it was to explain to people why it's taken so long, basically. In some respects and all different processes that have gone through.
I haven't done it. It's on my to-do list. I will probably be getting over the plan done.
Yeah, that's fine.
It frees up a little bit of staff time on them, so someone's going to dig up the archive.
Yeah, it is historic, and the reason it's still on there is because the town clerk, it wasn't an emergency to get on to it. The reality was that we spent, or will be spending, a lot of public money on a cemetery, and the decision base to where we got to that should be discussed, and how we got to it, and why we did it, and who proposed what and did what on the way to it, so that there is a minute when we discuss it, what we've done, so there's a record of it, so that when we do another project, we can learn from it and see what we did. And it's about the learning curve, and the reason the town clerk can't do it is because she probably hasn't had time, and so that's what it is.
John?
It's an example of reflective practice, and that's something we should all be doing. Checking out why things happened and why they didn't happen, and what we can learn from that to apply to the future, as such as just said.
Thank you. Anything else on the action list? Okay, right, and then we move on then in that case. Just go back up my agenda. Mayoral engagement.
Noted. Thank you.
That's just how you know.
When are you going to start working for your money?
Some King Charles.
Money.
I've done some really good fun ones.
Or Andrew.
Really good fun. Yeah. Very interesting. I will say that at Beaconsfield Civic Service, I was talking to the mayor of Marlow, and she asked me what the major issues we were encountering were in Buckingham. I said flooding, and she said, "Oh, we have problems with that." I said, "Yeah, you've just got some money for your flood alleviation sort of thing." And she said yes, and then I showed her the pictures from the 23rd of November, whatever date in November it was last year, and her face dropped and she said, "Oh, we don't have flooding like that." When there was the top of the roof of a car taking out the water and Robin up to his armpits in the waves.
But they have expensive cars down there.
I think they've got a water wings on. Anyway, right. That's beside the point, really. So chairs and announcements. To wish everybody a happy Christmas. We obviously we've got
Thank you.
planning to go straight afterwards.
Chair, just to say to members, I'm going to leave the YouTube rolling because it takes quite a long time to restart it, so we can go straight into planning.
Thank you. So we did say that we would have a drink tonight if anybody wants to go somewhere, but we've got planning first, so if anybody wants to go to I'd suggest Grand Junction, and we'll meet you there when we get out of here. If anybody is,
You'll be able to neck a few down before we get in there.
And if you can all look out for the email I've sent out about the pantomime.
Oh, no, you didn't.
And tomorrow's meal as well.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow's meal, yeah, those.
Remind us of the time.
So 7 o'clock, so whether we want to meet after that, we can have a conversation about this session. Now, Councillor.
Well, just, I've got a funeral tomorrow afternoon, so I might not be able to get back. So apologies for absence tomorrow.
Right.
Can I eat yours, Roger?
Yeah.
Meeting. Right, I will join the
Planning.
meeting to a close. Thank you for, oh no, dates of the next meeting, interim council Monday, 1st of January, interim council 23rd of February, informal meeting preceding it, and full council on Monday, the 16th of March. Thank you all. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas to you.
Okay.
Mail tomorrow.
Yeah.
That me on planning and him on main one.
Well.
Yeah. Can you roll up those orange sins up down there? Not just the one.
Those are dates on vitamin D.
Yeah.
D, is it not D?
D, yeah.
Oh, no, you won't.
Top.
Top.
Right, councillors and welcome to this meeting of the Buckingham Town Council Planning Committee.
Yes.
And I believe that I'm sitting in the public section, there's no public sessions expected. Right, okay. So moving into the main body of the meeting, item 1, apologies for absence. No apologies, thank you very much indeed. Item 2, declarations of interest.
I stick on planning just in case there's ever a plan out. That's to do with Buckingham that actually gets discussed in the committee.
I think we've heard that story before, but I absolutely buy it. Thank you, Councillor Stutchbury. Can I move on then to item 3? To agree the minutes of the planning committee, oh gosh, recent, held on the 1st of December.
Agreed.
Are we agreed? You want a formal proposal? Can I have a formal proposer and seconder, please? Councillor Davies proposed and Councillor Draper seconded. All in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Right. Now, we're still in that slightly interesting state where there are not that many planning applications coming through, but that probably means that there's a sort of a pile building up behind the fire doors down at Buckingham Council. But
Don't mention fire doors.
let's enjoy the moment to enjoy these two applications, which are both in their way important to us and to the people who've got before. So the first application is Post Office, Market Hill, replacement of existing side window with external door to create separate access to the first floor bar. That's can I now to John?
Yeah, I think I can't see objection to this at all. It's absolute sense, for the use of the building and, yeah, of course, no objection.
All in favour? Carolyn, yes?
Yes, I can certainly.
No. Lovely, okay.
I'll second John's proposal.
Okay, I suppose all in favour? Anyone against? No, all in favour, thank you, that's as far as I'm one abstention. Yes. That's a no objection. That's a no. No objection. You don't go as far as agreeing these things, that's a no objections. Perhaps give us a bit more conversation. Item 2. Some of you get deja vu, the old telephone exchange, also Market Hill, although I did argue the toss slightly, that's where it was. Where they're proposing a 2-storey roof extension to provide 8 flats and change of the ground floor to provide 1 residential unit and ancillary residential use. And as I say, we've seen this before, but it's coming back to us with some changes. John, I think you were first and then.
I think this falls into the you've got to be kidding. Yeah. So absolutely object to this, as we have done several occasions before.
So none of the things they put forward.
No.
Really.
No, the problems with it, as we know, is the location. And the location.
And the problem with the location is very tight and very quite noisy, I think, isn't it? So, yeah, okay. Fran,
I was going to second John. However, I'd also like to add that there is all the same grounds that we've objected to it previously, but I'd also like to add that with the issues with the old building of putting more stories onto buildings which weren't designed to have even more stories on, I think it's setting up for another disaster, really.
Yeah. No, is that a planning reason we can note, or is it just a sort of feeling that?
Unfortunately, deal with each application as an we can make a reference to the fact that there has been no obvious survey of the building to see if we take the weight.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes. Is it a very delicate building?
Well, as far as I'm aware, I do know somebody who's seen the original plan, the wall plans. It is a single skin brick building.
And it probably doesn't have very good foundations on it.
No,
it was the old Wispex.
Yes, but it was only intended for the electrical apparatus. The ladies in question actually worked in what is now the sorting office. Because that had plumbing and heating and other interesting things. So it was only a machine shop and a flat roof, single skin.
Yeah.
There's no indication that it will take the weight of 2 floors of equipped flats and a green roof, which is supposed to be an attenuation tank.
Now, Lisa, did you want to say something? I know Karen wants to speak.
I was seconding, but Fran got there, but if that needs officially saying, but in the words of Catherine's, then I would do that.
Yes, I think we need, we don't know what to.
Well, the Buckingham study obviously agreed with what's been said. I mean, it is ridiculous. The access issues have not changed in any one iota. ignoring the fact that the post office gate is locked.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, applications like this which provide, excuse me, no amenity at all for residents should be refused on that ground. Yeah. Okay.
Well, this needs to be called in.
We did call in the original application. I have put that,
Do we need to do
I
it
think that it
again?
was objected to and requested call in.
Yeah.
But these are the amended plans coming back. I will also point out that half of the ground floor is now occupied by a martial arts club. And it is still being shown as an accessible flat with 3 bedrooms.
Wow.
They have not nor have they adapted the description to say 6 flats because they have taken a good deal off the top.
Thank you, Catherine. Roger.
Can I just, that's what Catherine said. Could we, in part of our comments, suggest that they, in their submission, they have not provided a full structural survey of the building?
What do we think about a call-in? Is it, I mean, what do we think, listening around the table, it's a very clear-cut case for it being not acceptable, but would a call-in add or help in any way? Or
We can reiterate the fact that we called it in the first place.
Yeah.
I think what we can say is that if the proposal is to be delegated to officers, the decision, then at that stage, we would ask for it to be called into committee.
Are we happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much again, so Catherine's got all that written down. So our decision today is to object.
Yes. But we can't just do it as object strongly and object. Like you just done.
Object, and with those extra comments that.
Yeah.
And about if it was delegated to an officer that we want to go to calling, so all in favour of that? Okay, anyone against? No, that was unanimous, an abstention, so. Right, so item 5 is just a note. Planning decisions made by Buckingham Council, which look like they've all gone with game, so to speak, no objections, and they were all approved. So moving on, 5.2, planning inspector, Avenue Lodge, Stratford Road, 2-storey side extension. Gosh, I remember discussing this. Appeal on the grounds of non-determination. Inspector has allowed the appeal. Yes, we just have note that, don't we? Yeah. We all have feelings about it.
I think it's very disappointing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you do. I can imagine, yes, I mean, you were talking about it at the meeting, so anyway, that's.
Chair, what?
Yes, please.
So what does the non-determination mean then?
Means that they haven't made a decision within the statutory.
So they missed their timescale?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is not a surprise.
No, I've done it before.
It may not be a surprise, but it's a damned disappointing, isn't it?
Feels very not fair.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, is there we can do about it, or do we just have to accept it's not fair?
Can you do anything? I don't know.
Yeah. John? Any wise words?
Is there any pattern to the planning applications that are then appealed because of lack of determination? I mean, do they approach it in sort of sequential order? Or is there could there ever be any strategy behind not determining some applications because they?
I think that.
I think you may be crediting people with higher.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm not going to say too much, so.
It would be difficult to tell.
Very few non-termination appeals. Very few. Mostly they're appeals against refusal.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last non-determined we had, but it'll be in the annual stats March meeting as usual. But I think it's just so chaotic down there. I mean, if they can send out an application that shouldn't have been sent out at all, then I'm despairing. And the one I got this morning, they've been sitting on since the end of October.
Yeah.
And I got it this morning, and they want it back on the 4th of January.
Okay. we feel your pain and probably feel our pain as well. Lucy.
There's a phrase which I think is quite fitting. I think it's called Hanlon's rate or something. It's never attribute to malice what can be attributed to incompetence. But not saying that the planning department of Bucks are incompetent, because I know they've got a lot of systems issues, but as a broad.
Exactly.
It's not always a conspiracy.
We look forward to the return to a professional system, which I know they aspire to.
Thank you.
Right, can I move on to
Yeah,
item
six.
6, action reports, and it's an item 7. Not quite sure what happens there, so we note fire application responses. And then if I can move on, so I'm not quite sure what those were, but we need to note them. Item 7.
Planning, could I make a
please.
point here, because when we have a date that is before our meeting, I do ask for an extension of time. This does not always get translated to the website. Therefore, filing an application for which I had an extension permission, I had to use the comments button, which means that it goes in as a public comment and is not therefore published on the website.
Wow.
I've complained about this because it's not that difficult. I wouldn't have thought to just arrange that it remain open until you have responded. But it does mean that general public will think that we didn't bother.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, right, noted.
Thank you for that, Catherine. I think that's something that perhaps we should attend to discussion at a future meeting to see what they can remedy that situation. I think it's serious enough because if something major happened in the town, we don't know, there could be something happen and Parliament does it and we won't comment and the public will think we're not interested. I think it should perhaps we'll share it, gender it properly at a future meeting.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. We need to keep this whole system as far up to speed as we can, despite other systems problems. Right. On that helpful note, can I move on to item 7, planning budget? I'm going to look to Town Clerk Claire, the draft planning budget 26-27. What thousands of millions of pounds are you going to let us have?
It's actually a very, very straightforward one in that resources are responsible for salaries, national insurance and pensions. So basically the only thing of note is the neighbourhood plan budget, which we are not expecting to require in the same way next year. My recommendation is that we rename it neighbourhood plan continuity and put a small, I'll put £1,000 budget in there, just towards us driving forward what is in the neighbourhood plan. Especially I've got one eye on what we're going to do with IQ.
Thank you, Ashley. Fran.
I'd like to thank the town clerk and all the officers and staff for continuing to keep our finances in good order and propose that we accept the draft budget and the renaming of the budget line 4624.
Seconded? Seconded, or Lucy, you're seconding it, by the way.
I mean, it's when you look at this, apart from actually the wages of what we need to fund, it's more budget, isn't it, for a planning committee? In the sense that it's a continuity budget. We don't know. I mean, we can always go to council if something comes up and ask for it, but it is worth noting it's a very small amount of money in the total budget of the council.
We're lean.
No, I am. I just look at it. Yeah,
it's very good point. Martin.
I know the town clerk said that we would rename that budget line, but is that a practical thing? Because when we get audited for our accounts for last year, won't it come up with the wrong title then?
No, we can rename budget lines. There's a few in the draft budget where I've suggested things that we rename just to tidy them up or make it more obvious what they're for.
Martin, try budget line.
Apparently, Martin, it's okay. As long as it's fairly good, consistent.
That's still above.
See the line.
Is it?
Well, they've got the reference number.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about, that the it'll show up as well. Anyway, thank you very much for the explanation.
It's a fair point. It does. it causes, if we want to search on something, but actually it is a continuation of that work, so I'm pretty happy. It's all good.
Thank you very much, Eve. All good, that's what we want to hear. If I can move on then.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, we probably do, madam. So the budget, the proposed budget 26-27. Yeah. Proposer and seconder, all in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, unanimous. No.
It's the £1,000.
Item 8, chair's announcements. Very restricted on this one, written information only. Members are reminded, including this one, to send their views on the government consultation on statutory consultees to the clerk before Christmas Eve. So I think it's like before Christmas Eve, so that we can then put those together and bring them back to the council.
Catherine's very generously sent before Christmas Eve, but it would be very nice if Catherine could have some holidays, so we could possibly get them to her sooner rather than later, so that we could prepare before Christmas Eve. I'd be personally grateful.
Well, what a kind boss you are.
Please.
2024.
Too much to slack people.
See, I mean, we don't be working up there, so let's back on and get those comments into Catherine. Very important consultation. Thank you very much. Item 9, I've got to drag this meeting on so long, but for those of you who want to move on. Our next meeting is Monday, the 5th of January, following an interim full council meeting.
Just thing to note, please look for your agenda, it will be a day early for the bank holiday, so it'll come out on Tuesday.
Okay. Very good. And with that, I declare this meeting with Buckingham Town Council Planning Committee closed.
Thank you.
6 minutes, a new record.